Yeah, they fucked it up.
We'll see. Who do you think you are?
I'm the next criminal mastermind.
Now look around, this is what they call great.
So Artemis Fowl is the latest film to be based on a book series of the same name, in this case being Artemis Fowl. Well, actually, it's based on the first 2 books, to which... What? Sorry, getting a little mad already, but anyways, back to the plot. In Artemis Fowl, as you could probably imagine, we follow Artemis Fowl, actually Artemis Fowl II, and they basically emphasize that he is a genius, he's a mastermind, he's a brilliant kid throughout the entire film. And in the movie, his father, played by Colin Farrell, has been kidnapped by, I believe, a villain from the books named Opal Colboyd. I think that's how you pronounce the villain's name. Artemis has to give the villain this thing called the Oculus in order to save his father. And at the same time, there's this other character named Holly Short, a fairy cop from the books, and she's trying to clear her father's name. Yeah. Alright, so let's get into Artemis Fowl. The cinematography was fine, I guess? Alright, so before I go on and tell you all about how much I absolutely hated this movie, I want to tell you guys a story. So, this was either in 7th or 8th grade, I want to say. From what I remember anyways, I was doing poorly. In fact, I was doing terribly. And my English teacher recommended that if I wanted to exponentially raise my grade in her class, I would do a book report, to which my mother and I agreed, even though I wasn't a big reader at the time, minus, as you could probably imagine, Harry Potter. And out of the list that my teacher gave us, Artemis Fowl was in that list. And my mother chose that book, to which, Mom, thank you. And initially, I didn't want to read it because I was just feeling way too lazy to read it, although my mother told me, dude, read this. And I'm glad she did, because within the first 5 to 10 pages, I want to say, I was hooked like that. Artemis Fowl, if you guys have read the books, these books are fucking amazing. The author described the books like this, and I couldn't agree more. At least I described the first book like this. The first book is essentially Die Hard meets fairies. And mainly I will say this, saying that out loud, it kind of sounds dumb, but when you read it, it's badass. And there was this dark tone to the books. I mean, it was a dark tone for a kid's book, although it wasn't too dark to the point where a kid couldn't read it. It was very entertaining for a kid to read. In fact, I loved the first book so much that I would say I read the first 4 or 5 books because I love the series that much. And in fact, I didn't know there were additional books. But as you could probably imagine, after I read the first 2 books, to which this movie is based on for some reason. But like I said, as you could probably imagine, after I read the first 2 books, I thought, oh my god, this could make for an amazing movie. This could make for an awesome action-packed fantasy movie series. As you could probably imagine, when it was finally announced, I got so ecstatic when I heard that one of my favorite series reading as a kid was finally being adapted, was being finally brought to the big screen. I just thought, oh my god, I could finally tell everybody, hey guys, one of my favorite books is coming to a movie. You guys can finally see the cool badassery that's Artemis Fowl. And then when they announced that Kenneth Branagh was making it, I just thought, holy crap, this is great! But then I saw the trailer and I just thought, oh no. No! But I still kept my optimism because I just thought, okay, this is just a trailer. Maybe we're still going to be okay. And then I saw the movie. I'm just going to be blunt with you guys. I fucking hated this movie! I'm going to try not to do any more outbursts like that because I want to be more calm and collected while still tearing this movie to shreds. So here we go. So, starting off with the performances, Ferdius Shaw, I believe that's how you pronounce the kid's name, who plays Artemis Fowl. Yeah, he was terrible. He's nothing like Artemis Fowl. At all. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to talk shit about this kid too much because I know this is his first film role. But if he is looking into a career for acting, this couldn't be a worse start. He, in this movie, is so terrible Now here's the thing. I understand that when it comes to adapting a book into a film, you can't adapt everything. I completely understand that as a person who read all the Harry Potter books and saw the Harry Potter films, and they're all great fucking movies, by the way. But when it comes to Artemis Fowl, this is nothing like the character at all. In the first book, Artemis Fowl is a villain. He is a cold villain, and if I remember correctly, he's a recluse. Now, it's been a long time since I've read Artemis Fowl, so I could be completely wrong on that. But from what I remember, in the first book, Artemis Fowl is a villain. But he's a compelling villain. This kid, acting as Artemis Fowl, doesn't come off anything as a villain. He comes off more as a wannabe. I don't know if it was the kid or Kenneth Branagh's direction, but I think they were getting something confused between cold and robotic, because that's how this kid came off to me. And throughout this movie, they keep emphasizing how much of a genius he is, how brilliant he is, how much of a mastermind he is. There was not a single point during this movie that I thought this kid was not only brilliant in this movie, but showed a stroke of genius that was even close to what this person was in the books. But there's this one scene in the movie where Artemis and Butler, who by the way, Butler has no character development whatsoever, pretty much like everybody else in this movie, should I add. But anyways, getting back on track, they capture Holly Short, and in order to not be in control of Holly Short, Artemis wears sunglasses, to which, okay, that's a smart move. But in like the next scene or two, he comes back in and says, "Hi!" without glasses on. I fucking hate this movie. But otherwise, like I mentioned earlier, Butler has no character development at all. Or in the books, Butler is an awesome character. Holly Short, I can't remember the person that plays her, so I'll put her name right here. From what I remember, actually, Saoirse Ronan was supposed to play her. Would have been a far better choice, but then again, I don't even think that Saoirse Ronan could have saved this movie at all. The entire time, Holly Short is like, I want to be the best cop ever, and I want to clear my dad's name. Otherwise, that's all you get. Judi Dench and Josh Gad play as Commander Root and Mulch Diggums, and I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were doing this weird, I guess, Christian Bale Batman imitation with this gruff in their voices. And I gotta say as well, I feel terrible for Judi Dench. She goes from Cats to this. Think about that. She goes from Cats to this. Man. Oh yeah, that's right. When it comes to Josh Gad as Mulch Diggums, not only does he do that really weird gruff voice, but there's a scene where he's breaking into the Artemis Fowl estate, and in order to do so, he eats dirt, and that dirt shoots out of his ass.
It's feeding time.
What the fuck? Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, Colin Farrell is in this movie, and he's barely in it. When it comes to the story, there's really nothing exciting in this movie. I mean, there's a synopsis, but otherwise, there's really nothing that's exciting about this movie. Unlike in the books where it's action-packed, it's full of character, it's full of intrigue, fully realized worlds. I mean, they briefly go into the fairy world, which, by the way, doesn't even look that great. And I completely understand, by the way that I envision a certain world is not the way that a certain director is going to envision a certain world. But the way that I envisioned the fairy world was something along the lines of, I would say, Minority Report. But what we get here is something that just looks dull and dreary, and there's nothing that sparks imagination when it comes to not only to this world, but the movie as well. There is not a single amount of imagination, wonder, or even this dark tone that I was envisioning from this book. Something else that I should probably mention as well is that the artifact in this movie, the Oculus, wasn't even in the first book. Also, the action sequences in this movie have little to no flair. In fact, they feel very generic, they feel very workmanlike, and actually the sequences involving the time stop parts, which I was really curious to see how they would pull that off from the books. There's nothing amazing about it whatsoever, I should add. It's a very choppily edited movie, to which, by the way, that brings me to something else to which I don't understand. So like I mentioned beforehand, this movie is based on the first two books. The first two books, Artemis Fowl and then the Arctic Incident, which, by the way, if you ask me, is actually a better book than the first book. The movie is what? 95 minutes long? How in the shitting hell are you going to adapt two pretty dense books, by the way, into a 95 fucking minute movie? I should probably add as well that they adapted, what, 3 plot points, I think? 2 from the first book and 1 the second book, and the 1 from the second book they adapted gets resolved almost immediately. There's also tons of exposition throughout this entire film, and basically how is it done? Josh Gad's Mulch Diggums is in this interrogation scene, and there's parts throughout where he explains what's happening on screen, along with emphasizing how genius this kid is. And then the movie ends, and there better not be a sequel. I swear to fucking God. So overall, I am going through 3 feelings: disappointment, heartbreak, and anger. I'm disappointed that it took this long. I'm heartbroken because this is the movie that we get. And I am angry that they butchered Artemis Fowl. I was so excited when they finally announced it. And then when I finally watched it, I was just livid as can be. They fucked up Artemis Fowl. So all in all, as you could have probably imagined, I am absolutely, without a doubt, going to give Artemis Fowl a 0 out of 5. I know I just went on a long rant right there, but I needed to get those feelings out. Alrighty guys, so comment down and let me know below. Did you guys see Artemis Fowl? Please, don't watch it. But anyways, if you guys did see Artemis Fowl, let me know below. Did you guys hate it? Did you guys love it? If so, I'm glad you did. I fucking hated it, but anyways, let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat and Stardust. So if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review, or I should say rant, of Artemis Fowl. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever a new video of mine goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 videos, please click on the right there or there. And of course, until my next review, I will see you all next time.